Hello. Hello. I am live and alive. How are you doing today? Hello, everyone. I hope you all are having a good day today despite the unfortunate circumstances. I know things are now really tough in the world, and it's kind of hard to think about good things and to, be positive. Anyway, I haven't streamed in over a month. The last time I did stream, I streamed video games, but the last time I actually streamed news was about 4 months ago. That was a long time ago, 4 months ago. So I am very rusty. I haven't had any practice. I'm just winging it right now. So if you expect more from me, I'm sorry and I do apologize. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I wanted to talk about the thing that's in the news, where everyone's talking about it. Everyone, their moms and their grandmas are talking about it. I know mine are. We're going to talk about Russia. Specifically, how Russia is currently at war with Ukraine, their neighboring country. So, if you haven't heard, you've probably been living under a rock, but this news is everywhere. Everyone's talking about Russia's invading Ukraine. Russia's invading Ukraine. What are we gonna do? Blah 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 blah. And it can be pretty confusing if you're somebody who's not a political pothead, and if you're not someone who always constantly looks at the news. Then you might not know what's going on, and you probably have a gist of what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on. Do you get me? So I can understand how it can be confusing. I myself, I started school again, and I haven't had a lot of time to get into politics as much as I used to. So that sucks. But so because of that, I didn't really know what was happening, so I was pretty new to it. So I was kind of just like everyone else. I was like, what's happening? Like, I don't understand. Why is it happening? And after yesterday, I spent almost my entire day doing research on what's happening, why it's happening, how it's affecting people. And I want to talk about it with the hopes of educating people about what's happening, so that people can get a better understanding of the issue that we have at hand, So, without further ado, I'm gonna get into it. Warning, I am not a professional. I don't claim to be a professional. Right? I'm just somebody who's passionate about politics. That's it. So, yeah, don't look to me for everything. Some things I might be wrong on, and you can correct me on if I'm wrong. And if you have evidence proving that I'm wrong, then please let me know. I would love to know. But yeah, we'll get into it. Let me do this. Okay. So we're going to talk about Russia and Ukraine. Specifically Russia more. So I made Google Slides. Yes, you heard it here first, folks. I made Google fucking Slides, even though I've never done that before. But here we are. I named the title of this stream, "What the fuck is happening?" And that's what I did here on my Google Slides. Russia and Ukraine. What the fuck is happening, folks? And I'm gonna tell you what the fuck is happening, and I'm gonna do the best of my abilities to dumb it down to where normal, ordinary people can understand this. But first, we have to go back in history. NATO. What is NATO? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. What is NATO? Long story short, NATO is the biggest military alliance, and it was first originally formed to work against the Soviet Union in 1949 in Europe during the Cold War. This is the symbol of NATO. You might have seen it around. They have it on flags. And you have especially probably heard the word NATO in the news. Everyone's talking about NATO. So here you go, some historical context of what NATO is. It's basically a bunch of countries have formed together to have this huge military. And again, as you see with that I wrote down, they originally formed NATO as a way to combat the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Why does this matter? Alright, this is going to get probably a little bit boring, but bear with me. You're going to have to go through a little bit of boring stuff to understand what's happening now. Why does this matter? Due to a treaty between Russia, Ukraine, and all these other countries in the USSR, they officially formed, well, the USSR / the Soviet Union. If you don't know, the Soviet Union and the USSR are basically the same thing, just different words. Okay? So Russia and Ukraine and a couple of another country at the time, they came together and formed an official, thing, the USSR, the Soviet Union. In 1991, when the Soviet Union fell, Russia replaced the Soviet Union. So as we know, after World War II, when that all happened, the Soviet Union did fall to the West. And because the Soviet Union fell, Russia was basically the last thing standing. So Russia is probably the last piece on the chessboard that once was a part of the Soviet Union. All right. The West made promises to Russia that at the end of the Cold War in 1989 to the 1990s, that NATO would not expand to the east. So this is important because, again, as we said before, NATO was originally formed to combat the Soviet Union. So now that the Soviet Union is over and the Soviet Union is no more, why does NATO still exist? And NATO needed a reason to exist because their enemy, the Soviet Union, had already fell and was replaced by Russia. Although the Soviet Union fell in 1991, NATO continued to expand anyway, breaking the promises it made to Russia, more specifically Vladimir Putin at the time. So obviously, if you're Vladimir Putin, you're going to feel threatened by NATO because of what they can do to you. This promise was almost never officially written down in a treaty. So because this, in quote, promise was never actually written down in a treaty, NATO was basically allowed to expand anyway. So they didn't really owe Russia anything. Hence why they continued to expand it. Due to the breaking of that promise, Russia has since been left feeling lied to and betrayed by the West. One of the many reasons why Vladimir Putin hates America and hates the West. All right? So that's some historical context for you. I put down some links here. If you want to feel, we might read them, but it's just a little bit more details on where I got my sources from, and we'll probably read that later if I feel like it. Okay, moving on. The relationship between Russia and Ukraine. Why does Putin want? Wait, what? I put Russia. Bro, see, I'm already making mistakes. Ukraine. Why does Putin want Ukraine for? Alright, that's the big question that everyone's asking. Yeah, we know he invaded Ukraine, but why? What was the reason? And it's more of kind of a complicated thing to answer, so I'm going to break it down into 3 pieces. Because there's specifically 3 reasons why Russia decided to invade Ukraine. And we're going to get into those pieces. The first piece is because in 1922, when Ukraine joined the Soviet Union alongside Russia and others, after the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine no longer had to respond to the Soviet Union and therefore declared themselves an independent country. Russia views Ukrainian and Russians as one people due to their cultural similarities and the fact that for the most part they both speak the same language, Russian. Putin wants to have what he believes is his rightful right to control Ukraine no matter what the cost is. Hence why he is now invading Ukraine. So that may sound confusing, but it's not. Long story short, Vladimir Putin thinks that he has the right to take over Ukraine. He firmly believes that because he believes that Russia and Ukraine are very similar. He believes that Ukraine should be a part of Russia and that it's his duty to do that, no matter what the cost is. Hence why so many fucking people say that he's fucking crazy. Which he is, obviously. Alright? Now we'll move on to the second reason. Bro, I fucking kept putting Russia, dude. How did I... Sorry, I had to change it each time. On the third one, I have to as well. But whatever. It's fine. Okay. We know that NATO was formed to be against the Soviet Union, which is now basically Russia. Since Ukraine is a neighboring country of Russia, at the doorstep of Russia, having Ukraine be a part of NATO or even have alliances with the United States would be bad for Russia. Putin has expressed how he does not want any of his neighboring countries, especially Ukraine, to be a part of NATO. So it's pretty obvious Vladimir Putin is like, no, Ukraine, don't go near NATO. I don't want you to have anything to do with them. To put that in context, for an example, it would be like Mexico forming a strong military alliance with China. That's like the best way I could try to put it as an example. All right. So imagine if Mexico formed a strong alliance with China. That would be bad. Why? Because at the moment, in American culture, we view China as the enemy. Everyone's always scared of China. Oh, China, 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 right? So it would be bad if China formed an alliance with Mexico, since Mexico is so close to the United States, right? That's basically what's happening with Ukraine and Russia. If Ukraine becomes a part of NATO, which, newsflash, it's not going to. Sorry, spoiler, but there's no shot Ukraine is ever going to be a part of Russia, NATO, at least not anytime soon. But that doesn't matter to Vladimir Putin because he's still afraid of it, even at a thought of it being a part of NATO. Now we're going to move on to the third reason, okay? And this reason is kind of like, it's like the more complicated bullshit reason, but I'm going to mention it anyway because I have to, because it would be weird if I didn't. Long story short, Putin stated he wanted to send a military operation to protect people who had been victim to the genocide of the Kiev regiment for 8 years. He says he wants to denazify. He wants to do denazification in Ukraine. So that might sound complicated, which it kind of is. But basically, there's a lot of videos of Putin saying, there's Nazis in Ukraine. They're Nazis. They're Nazis. They're just a bunch of Nazis, and we have to cleanse the state and get rid of all these Nazis that are there. Which, I don't know, newsflash, is bullshit and it's a lie. So I wouldn't believe anything he says, to be honest. So yeah, if you're taking what Vladimir Putin says as legitimate, or if you're even taking it with a grain of salt, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Because he's fucking insane. And I'm pretty sure everyone knows that. Okay, now we're going to move on to the United States. Alright? Why am I mentioning the United States? Because I live here and I kind of have to mention it. U.S. involvement. Why can't the U.S. help Ukraine? I know there's some American citizens that might think it would be easy for us to end this war. Oh, just send troops to Ukraine. We're getting into why that can't happen. The simple answer: foot into Ukrainian land to help Ukrainians in this would lead to Russia starting a war with the United States. And war with Russia is very bad and very dangerous because Russia has nukes. Alright? They have nuclear weapons, nukes. A war with Russia would lead to a nuclear war. Two countries at war while both are in possession of nuclear weapons is not a smart idea. Russia has already warned other countries that if they interfere with what they're doing, they will face, in quote, consequences you have never seen before. Alright? Again, the answer is simple. Russia has fucking nukes and nuclear weapons, and so do we, the United States. We also have those weapons as well. And if both of us go head to head with each other, that's easily gonna probably start a nuclear war, which could lead to World War III. And yeah, that's pretty scary, right? Pretty scary thing to think of. But if we play this the right way and we don't do that, we don't send our soldiers over there, and any other country or part of NATO doesn't do that, then we could avoid this war from happening. And that's basically it, folks. That's my little slide / education on what has been happening. I'm sorry if it was confusing, but again, I'm not a professional, okay? I did the best that I could and the best that I think would help people understand what's happening. So I'm sorry if you got confused or anything like that, but I tried to explain it the best of my ability. So now that we have this out of the way, all of this historical context and what's happening, now that we have that out of the way, we are going to talk about more recent things. Hold on. So we're going to get into more of what's happening now at the moment, because that was like old news. I made those slides as a way to help explain what's happening that already happened already, you know? So now we're going to move on to something else. Well, we're still going to talk about Russia, obviously, but we're going to move on to like recent articles and stuff like that. Okay, sorry, I'm just changing the music, okay? We're gonna move on to sanctions. Alright, folks. Alright, Jack. If you don't know what sanctions are, sanctions basically are like, how do I explain this? Sanctions are basically things that other countries can use to fuck up another country's economy. Their money, basically. That's basically what it is. I'm sorry. It's a shitty explanation, but it's what it is. What Biden's sanctions on Russia will actually do. We're going to read through this whole shit. Yes, it looks long, but it's okay because I'm the one reading it, not you. Okay, the United States is set to impose sanctions on Russia that exceed anything we've ever done before, President Joe Biden said Thursday in response to a Russian full-scale attack on Ukraine. This was posted on the 24th. So that was this passing Thursday. So I'm a little bit late, but it's okay because it's still relevant. Biden detailed an expansive sanctions on Russia's financial institutions, major enterprises, and individuals in Putin's power hierarchy. Dude, I cannot read. If you're new to this channel and you didn't watch me like 4 months ago, I'm basically shitty at reading, okay? And I fuck up a lot, but that's okay. The White House is also placing restrictions on Russia's military and civilian purchases of U.S. goods and services, most notably high-tech imports. The actions build on an earlier round of sanctions Biden first announced Tuesday after Putin ordered troops to two separatist regions within Ukraine. So this basically says, no Russians and Russian military can't buy stuff from us no more, which is obviously going to have a little bit of an impact on Russia. Not the impact as much as we want it to, but it's going to impact them in a way, either way. Putin's aggression against Ukraine will end up costing Russia dearly economically and strategically, Biden said. We'll make sure of that. The White House made the sanctions decisions in consultation with a group of 7 leadership and National Security Council members following conversations with both groups on Thursday morning. Biden announced the economic response amid calls from both Democrats and Republican members of Congress to impose harsh sanctions on Russian President Vladimir Putin. Jesus, at least that's something the parties can agree on at least a little bit. That's kind of refreshing. The Russian aggression has triggered, what did I say? Blah, 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 corporations from countries representing more than half of the global economy, Biden added. The European Union, Australia, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom have already agreed to impose similar sanctions, according to the White House. We will limit Russia's ability to do business in dollars, euros, pounds, and yen, Biden said. Putin's desire to take over Ukraine is a vision that the United States and freedom-loving nations everywhere will oppose with every tool in our considerable power, Biden noted. Also, not trying to be like like Debbie Downer and like a person who's like very anti-America. But like, isn't this rich coming from America? I think it's kind of funny to have America preaching about freedoms and how not to attack your neighbors when the United States does that literally all the time. You know, whatever. I'm gonna just ignore what I said. I just think it's funny. Here's a breakdown of U.S. sanctions announced on Thursday. Blocking major Russian banks from the U.S. connections. The U.S. is cutting ties with Russia's 10 largest financial institutions, effectively serving any flow of money between the U.S. market and institutions representing almost 80% of assets in Russia's banking sector. The most notable restrictions fall on the country's biggest bank, Sberbank, and 25 of its blah blah blah, all of which account for over 1/3 of Russia's financial assets. Damn, that's a lot. Other major financial institutions that the U.S. will fully restrict include VTB Bank, Bank blah blah blah, blah blah blah. These words I cannot read, folks. Surprise, surprise, an American can't read foreign languages words. Interesting. Any of their assets with even a touch of U.S. financial systems will be blocked, and the U.S. government and its citizens are prohibited from doing any business with them. That means that every asset these banks have in America will be frozen. Ooh, I know some rich Americans probably aren't gonna like that. Biden stopped short of implementing a blockage of so-called SWIFT transfers from Russia, explaining that the sanctions we have proposed on all of Russia's banks is equal consequence, maybe more consequence than SWIFT. Number one, that's bullshit. Number two, yes, this is fucking old news, because in the news today, actually like a couple minutes ago or a few hours ago, they are doing something with SWIFT now. And I'll explain later what SWIFT is and stuff like that, okay? He added that excluding Russia from SWIFT is always an option, but right now it's not a position the rest of Europe wishes to take. Oh, sorry about it, you guys ended up doing it anyway. European officials reportedly oppose the SWIFT option because it would mean Russian companies and individuals will lose access to their main means of repaying some $30 billion in debt they owe to European leaders. Sanctions on individuals in Putin's power hierarchy. The White House has added more than 10 people and what does that say? Blah, 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 to the list of Russian elites, and the U.S. have sanctioned over the Ukrainian, I can't fucking read, has sanctioned over the Ukraine threat and invasion. That means any asset those individuals hold in the U.S. will freeze. These individuals be cut off from the U.S. financial system, and they are prohibited from traveling to America. Damn. These are people who personally gained from the Kremlin's policies, and they should share in the pain. Jesus Christ. You know, I'm saying Jesus Christ and all this stuff, but it's not. Like, they deserve more harsh consequences, alright? They deserve more. Officially, these citizens leaders are now in the specially designed designated nationals and blocked persons list at a Treasury Department office in Foreign Assets Control. I didn't even know this was a thing, dude. I didn't even know there was a list. Jesus. Restrictions on 13 major corporations and other entities. I guess what that word said. Entities. I'm just a fucking idiot. The sanctions also target 13 major Russian companies and other entities beyond the banking sector. That means, Jesus Christ, that means the U.S. will apply new debt and equity restrictions on transactions involving state-owned gas companies, Gazprom, and the official institutions supporting Russia's agriculture sector and the Russian railway and train service. These entities representing Russia's major individual sectors can no longer raise money through the U.S. market. The move is designed to damage the Kremlin's ability to raise capital and generate revenue, according to the White House. Damn. Restrictions on the Russian military purchases. The U.S. will specifically target Russia's means of expanding its military, Biden said Thursday. Blocking the country's armed services from certain imports and financing will frustrate Biden's strategic ambitions, the White House said. The Biden administration is restricting exports of nearly all items. You see how it says nearly all? Damn, the U.S. loves money, don't they? U.S. items as well as products made in other countries using U.S. technology equipment and software. To entities including the Russian Ministry of Defense, which includes the armed forces of Russia. Okay, hold on, give me a minute. I was checking something. A block on Russian purchases of high-tech U.S. goods. With so much of the world's technology originating in the U.S., the White House wants to strike a blow to Russia by curbing its access to those advances. Blocking Russia's non-military high-tech imports has widespread implications. It could affect the entire Russian economy, including its defense industry, ultimately smite its long-term growth. A Russian-wide block in U.S.-produced sensitive technology will land heavily on the defense sector. The U.S. will also restrict access to technology produced in the countries that relies upon things like American equipment and software, which could also affect the military, as well as Russia-wide access to smartphones, telecommunications, televisions, so game consoles. No, not the game consoles. No. So basically, all of their techie shit is gonna be fucked. We estimate that we'll cut off more than half of Russia's high-tech imports, Biden said. So yeah, I said more than half. Sorry, I'm just nitpicking everything. Okay, that's the end of it. Okay, so what is this saying?
Without provocation, without justification, without necessity.
The fuck else is he saying?
This is a premeditated attack. Vladimir Putin has been planning this for months, as we've been saying all along. We've been transparent with the world. We've shared declassified evidence about Russia's plans and cyber attacks and false pretexts so that there could be no confusion or cover-up about what Putin was doing. Putin is the aggressor. Putin chose this war, and now he and his country will bear the consequences. Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia. This is going to impose severe cost on the Russian economy, both immediately and over time. We have purposely designed these sanctions to maximize the long-term impact on Russia and to minimize the impact on the United States and our allies. Over the past few weeks, I ordered thousands of additional forces to Germany and Poland as part of our commitment to NATO. On Tuesday, in response to Russia's aggressive action, including its troop presence in Belarus and the Black Sea, I've authorized the deployment of ground and air forces already stationed in Europe to NATO's eastern flank allies, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Romania. I know this is hard and that Americans are already hurting. I will do everything in my power to limit the pain the American people are feeling at the gas pump.
At the gas pump? Yeah, I was about to say, this war going on is gonna fucking make our gas prices skyrocket, by the way, even though they've already been fucked.
This is critical to me. But this aggression cannot go unanswered. If it did, the consequences for America would be much worse. America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is
all right, Biden, relax. As if America isn't a bully ourselves. Oh, relax, Biden, relax. I'm not gonna listen to his little inspirational speech, okay? I'm not gonna do it. I don't hate myself that much. Okay, we're gonna move on. Not entirely. We're still gonna talk about Russia, obviously. But we're gonna talk about Germany. Okay, this news came out today. Yeah, literally like an hour ago. 56 minutes ago. Okay, we're gonna talk about it. Hold on. I'm like multitasking, that's why I'm like not paying 100% attention to what I'm doing. Even though I probably should, but I'm not, because I'm a fucking idiot. Anyway, in major shift, Germany will send weapons to Ukraine. Fuck yeah, shout out to Germany, my brother. Alright, we're getting into it. In significant shift, German government said Saturday it will send weapons and other supplies directly to Ukraine, which is fighting to keep Russia from invading its capital city. Germany is also ready to also support some restrictions of the SWIFT global banking system for Russia, officials said. Germany's Chancellor, I don't know how to read that, announced Saturday evening that it will anti-tank mobile, anti-tank, I don't know where the fuck I got mobile from, and 500 Stinger surface air missiles to Ukraine as quickly as possible. The Russian invasion of the entire post-war order, German Chancellor Olaf, I'm not reading that last name, said in his statement. In this situation, it is our duty to help Ukraine to the best of our ability to defend it against Vladimir Putin's invading army. The news came shortly after the German Economy and Climate Ministry said in a Saturday evening statement that Germany is allowing the Netherlands to ship 400 German-made anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. The government also approved the shipment of 9 D-30 howitzers and ammunition originally from Estonia. Germany has long stuck to a policy of not exporting deadly weapons to conflict zones, including Ukraine. As recently as Friday, government officials said they would abide by that policy. So, shouts out to Germany. They're trying to help as best as they can. I'm pretty sure almost all the countries on the planet are trying to help. With U.S. allies commit to ensuring slightly Russian banks are removed from SWIFT international payment system, right? There you go about the SWIFT, right? It's already being dealt with, okay? So, now we're gonna do what we usually do when we talk about news, which means we're gonna like look at Google News and Twitter to see what's happening. I don't suggest looking at Twitter for like advice and shit all the time, but it's still good. Not gonna lie. Okay, hold on. Let me put this music a little bit louder. Okay. Live updates. Russia invades Ukraine. There's been a massive explosion in Kyiv. A large explosion lit up the night sky in the southwest of Kyiv early on Sunday. The explosion appeared to be 220. Oh shit! That fucking scared the shit out of me, dude. I didn't realize I had this on. That fucking scared me. Jesus. Oh, that was embarrassing. Thank God no one saw that. Appeared to be 20 kilometers or about 12 miles from the Ukrainian capital center. The night sky lit up for several minutes. Damn. EU announced an expulsion of certain Russian banks from SWIFT. Yeah, we already talked about this. Video shows of a missile or rocket striking building in Kyiv. Jesus.
That you're seeing there is from a security camera that caught the moment a missile hit an apartment building there in Kyiv. According to the Ukrainian Interior Ministry, active...
Yeah, that's not terrifying at all. It's definitely not scary. Ukrainian president said that Kyiv remains under Ukrainian control as Russian forces strike the capital and other cities with artillery and missiles. Zelensky has turned down an offer by the U.S. to evacuate him from Kyiv. More than 150,000 people have fled Ukraine since Russian troops invaded the country on February 24th, according to the UN, the United Nations. Well, it's good they're still holding down the fucking capital, because, because if they do take over the capital, it's kind of GG's, a little bit. But yeah, this shit's sad. Berlin authorizes Netherlands to send. Yeah, we already saw this. Well, yeah, that's basically what's happening. Try to cover it the best of my ability. Of course, this is an ongoing situation. I personally don't think this is gonna end anytime soon, which is kind of fucked up, but that's how it is. That's how war is. War takes a long time and it takes a lot of money, which is irrelevant. But the only thing that matters here is the lives of the Ukrainian people, the citizens there who are innocent and they have nothing to do with it, who are there suffering and being bombed because Putin is fucking a crazy person. But I already did my part. I spoke about it. And hopefully this helps educate some people on what's happening. And tomorrow I'll probably go live again to talk about it and see what else is happening. But for now, I don't really have else much to say. And yeah, this should be uploaded to YouTube probably today. And we'll see how that goes. If you stayed to watch, thank you for watching. If you have any questions now or later on in the future, please let me know so I can answer them for you. But other than that, I'm gonna go. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for watching. But that's all for me. See you next time. Bye.